Hi, I'm Roni.
Hi, I'm Lizzie, and
this is the Recruitment Aversion.
This is a new podcast that's going to focus on recruitment and the love-hate relationship that everyone has with it.
We'll be focusing on the recruitment industry from the perspective of recruiters themselves, employers, and from candidates.
So, on today's episode, we're going to be looking at the topic of the moment, which is hybrid and working from home, but looking at it from an employer perspective.
Yes. So let's start off then by thinking about why it's important for employers to offer that flexible working arrangement. So what are your thoughts, Lizzie?
Well, I've found, and I don't know about you, when you're speaking to your candidates, I've had so many of them be like, I'm not going to consider that job if it doesn't offer a little bit of flexibility. I've had people as well, more often than you'd think, be like, I need fully remote and that's all I'm considering.
Yes, I hear that all the
and then
time.
You're like, okay, well, no, it's actually hybrid. And they're like, I'm not interested.
Yeah, it's normally the first question people ask me. Say, oh, hi, I've got a job. It might be a good fit. Is it hybrid?
Yeah.
That's literally the first thing that they'll ask. So it is probably the most important thing for people at the moment. I think it is a deal breaker for a lot of them.
100%.
And you know, before I think it used to be, oh, well, what's the salary? Now it's, well, what's the working arrangements first before that. So it is a huge thing. It's on every candidate's mind at the moment, but I think, you know, because of that, it is on the employer's mind, and they are thinking, can we offer it? Should we offer it?
And so how do we go about it?
Yeah.
Do you think it's something that's become more apparent after the pandemic?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. Obviously, we are phasing out the pandemic now, but I think it is here to stay. I think there have been a lot of good results with people. They're able to get their job done while working at home. And I think because of that, it is something that does need to be considered by employers as a permanent fixture as part of their working arrangements.
It really does. And I know we've both had it with some of our clients that we're dealing with where they are a little bit reluctant to sort of look at working from home and flexible models because it's something that hasn't been done. I mean, every business had the emergency lockdown work from home. But I think for a lot of companies, that was very much sort of, we're making the best out of a bad situation. There's no official processes put in place, because there was even massive companies like Apple who are now saying we want people back in at least 3 days a week and stuff. So I think it's something that employers needed to sort of consider putting a proper plan into place for. But what do you think their sort of main concerns are with it?
I think, you know, it's for some companies, it is that unfamiliarity. You know, they've not done it before or not done it properly before. And I think for most clients, it is that fear of, well, are they going to do the work? Are they going to get it done? Can we trust them? But obviously, trust is a huge thing for both sides. I think all employees want to feel trusted, and I think you probably would do better work and be more committed to a company and have that longevity if you feel that you are trusted and you are given the sort of flexibility that you need, because, you know, it does help with other day-to-day living factors. You know, work isn't everything. People have kids, they need to go and pick their kids up, and they need to, you know, they can't afford childcare, so they need to be around for that. Or, you know, the cost of living, that's a huge thing at the moment. People
travelling to work, the fuel prices and stuff, which is obviously just insane. And I think as well, I've spoke to a few candidates that have obviously during lockdown, people have got new pets, and they're like, my working situation has changed now, and now I've got all these different responsibilities at home, and it's not going to affect my working life, but I don't want to be spending X amount of hours in the car commuting. Because some people do spend an hour on the way, an hour on the way back, and they're like, that's 2 hours of my day that I could be sitting at home working for you. Yeah,
exactly. And I think, you know, a lot of people, their lifestyles did change over the pandemic. And, you know, when I ask candidates, well, what's your reason for leaving? A big reason is, you know, I got used to hybrid and now they're easing us back into the office. And, you know, my life changed during that time. You know, I got a pet, I had a kid, you know, things have changed. They might have moved house, or, you know, people don't really have the provisions anymore to be in the office full time.
And I think because people's mindsets changed a lot during the pandemic as well. I mean, I think everyone at some point emotionally evaluated themselves during lockdown. And it's like people started taking up new hobbies, like we're going to the gym. Like you say, there was lockdown puppies and babies galore. And people are now like, it doesn't work for me. And like, and touching back to what you sort of said earlier about the trust kind of thing, I know myself, if someone's like, you can work from home. And I'm like, oh, like I must be a trusted employee.
Exactly.
And then you're like, I know that I'm going to do above and beyond to show that I am capable of working from home. But do you think that that's the mindset of all candidates, or?
I would say so. I mean, obviously there will be some people who may use that to their advantage and not their employer's advantage.
Yeah.
So, I've been allowed to work from home today. I'm going to play PlayStation, or I'm going to take a 2-hour lunch or midday nap, or, things like that. I do understand. But, that isn't the case for the majority of people. The majority of people will think, do you know what? I'm actually going to do my work because I want to be able to keep this hybrid arrangement. So I'm going to show them. And, a lot of studies have shown that there is better productivity for a lot of people working from home.
Definitely.
I think it does depend, of course, on, what the work is, what sector it is. I think, obviously, I deal with a lot of marketing candidates, and they sort of need to be in a bustling office environment because they want that stimulation, they want to be around people. Obviously, they need to make the content, they need to be there for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, have you found with any particular industries it's better for them to be in the office?
I recruit quite a lot of sales people, and I think that it's the same thing. You need to be in the office, you need to be like vibing off your colleagues, discussing ideas. And with a sales role, you're going to have bad calls that aren't going to go your way, and you're going to get your confidence knocked. And if you're sitting on your own at home and that happens, it's going to kill your mood for the rest of the day.
Absolutely.
But if you're in the office and everyone's like, oh, I've just had the same thing and blah, blah, and you're there like, come on, let's get a coffee and then let's carry on. And the whole sort of like support network that you get from being in an office environment in those kind of roles, I think does really help.
Yeah.
And I think it's about, obviously, like the candidate side of things, but then it's about saying to the employers who are maybe a bit reluctant to let people work from home, sort of explaining maybe the benefits to looking at a model.
Yeah, I mean, so speaking of the benefits, you can get much larger candidate pool because, as we mentioned at the start, people aren't willing to have conversations if they know from the get-go that it's not hybrid. So, they're going to have more candidates coming through. And when I work on specialised roles that are, hard to come by someone who has that skill set, it just means you can look for candidates further afield, because a lot of people, if they're in the office 1 to 2 days a week, they're happy to travel even an hour and a half to work because they know they don't have to do it 1 to 2 days a week. So, it really opens up that pool of candidates. And, because of that, again, they'll find that their productivity is increasing because, they're getting the highly skilled staff from a little bit further away that, they may not be able to get. If they were just looking for people who are within, a 20-minute drive of the office.
And it just really, like you say, it opens it up. It means they've got a bigger pool of people to sort of choose from to see who would sort of fit best within their business, rather than just taking someone because they're close by. Especially with the specialised roles that you work on, it can be difficult enough anyway to find people with the exact skill set that they need. Yeah. And I think there's obviously that, and then sort of looking at the work culture somewhere, if they're all trusted by their employer and they've all got that kind of thing, like, I know I've got this amount of work to do, I'm going to fit it in here, but I've got to pick the kids up from school and blah blah blah, then people are like, I'm managing my own diary, I'm sort of managing my own destiny as such. Do you know what I mean? And people are like, I want to, but then they look forward to coming into the office to seeing everyone and stuff. So I think it really does help improve that.
Yeah, and obviously, it can be a challenge for employers. They have to get the equipment in. They'll need the person to come into the office at first to do the onboarding properly. Yeah. They will need to build that trust, of course. But, hybrid is here to stay. There is a shift in the culture and mindset of what people are seeing as the standard now. So, going forward, I do think it is something that needs to at least be considered. The conversations need to be had. Even for those companies who don't particularly want all their staff to be out of the office all week, even just start off 1 day at home, see how that goes. A lot of people, that is enough. Just having 1 day at home, that is a massive help for them. So, going forward, I think it is a really big thing to consider, and I think it will make a huge difference.
I think it really will. And
there's so many ways
the workforce can sort of be managed now, that employers can look at. I mean, obviously, like just as a basic, Microsoft Teams, where you can see who's online and who's active.
Of course.
You can have all your meetings via Teams. Obviously, IT equipment. I mean, a lot of people are on laptops now, and I know it is a big investment for employers to sort of put all their workforce on laptops so they can work from home. But there's different sort of ways of looking at that. And like you say, if it is just people doing 1 day a week, whether they split them up and sort of equipment shared to start with and things. I mean, there's so many different ways it could be looked at.
Yeah, of course. And all of those sort of worries and doubts that can be managed, because, you know, that is something that can be built into the recruitment process. So, you know, in the interview, ask them what their home office situation is like. Ask them, you know, have you got experience working from home before? How did you feel it affected your productivity? You know, speak to them. And, you know, you wouldn't hire someone anyway who you wouldn't be able to trust. You know, why would you bring someone on who you don't think is going to do the work? So, you know, it is, you know, we've said it time and time again, it's here to stay, but it can be managed and it can be a benefit for both the candidate and the employer.
Definitely. And I agree. I think there's not really much that can be done about it, and so the more employers sort of look at it, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, just embrace it and make it work for you. Definitely. So next week we'll be looking more at a candidate perspective, so stay tuned for that episode.
Yeah, we'll speak to you next week.